You're clear?
And we're clear. Okay, darlings. Smoke them if you've got them. Everyone, you can turn on your cameras and come on out. I knew Maury would be one of the first, and Clive. Yeah, look at there. They all come Dawn, and everyone's popping back in. Oi. I'm so fucking hot. I'm melting to death.
Hey, Alan, I got a quick question for you right off the top, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem.
It starts, Alan.
Okay.
Alan, this is Maury. He's my sweetie pie. He is not afraid to ask anything, so be prepared.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, you were talking about basically the hierarchy, and you were talking about Marduk, and then Marduk, being at the head of the pack, so to speak, of the trust for X amount of thousands or years or so. Yeah. And then he disappeared or got gone, and Kim took over. Is that so far correct?
Yeah, Kim worked for Marduk, and then for whatever reason, he was taken out, and then so the trustees like Putin and Mandela and a few others voted Kim in as the trustee to take Marduk's position. Okay,
where does she derive her power from to get that position of trustee? You were talking about a thing called the council. Is that?
Can you explain the council? I wanted to get back there during the show, and we just couldn't get back there. So could you explain the council a little bit?
Okay, I'm just going to go from memory with this. So I apologize if I get it wrong, but I'm just going to go from memory. The council is basically what it is. It's a universal council. I suppose people call it all different names. And when they were, Kim came on the radar, I think, memory serves me well, I think it's the 80s. They were looking at, they had the looking glass technology, Danny.
Right, exactly.
And so they were obviously using the looking glass technology, and Kim came on their radar, I think, in the 80s. And that's how they found out about Kim. So to cut a long story short, she got involved with the American government, involved in banking, and she was traveling around countries doing business for the American government. And she was over in Russia on one of these trips. And for whatever reason, I'm trying to remember now, but for whatever reason, people were congratulating her. And she was saying, well, why are you congratulating me? And they said, oh, you've been voted in as the trustee to take over Marduk's position because she worked for Marduk as part of this, American government thing. So I can't give you any more information than that. You'd have to look at, if you go over to thinkdifferent.thepeoplesclub.org and click on the must listen to shows, all the podcasts are there of the history of who Kim is, her DNA, and what happened. And I'd rather you do that and get the real information rather than me trying to remember exactly what it is. But basically, that's what happened. Marduk was taken out, I believe, in 2009. Maybe it was the Universal Council that took them out. See, there has been nobody. Yeah.
Finish what you were saying, because I want to go back to the Universal Council again.
Okay.
But finish what you were saying.
Before Thomas and Kim, apparently there was no human beings on the Universal Council. And they were making decisions on planet Earth with no humans on the council. So step forward, Kim and Thomas. Now they are the two humans that are now on the council speaking for humanity. This is what I've been told. I've no way of proving that, and it's subjective because Thomas has no way of proving it to me either. Okay, so we just have to take it for what it is. So, but let's say that is the case, and they are now on the council. They go up there and they get really annoyed with the council because the council seem to lack bloody empathy. And I said this to Thomas. I said, this is ridiculous. And Thomas said, well, he said, I understand what you mean, but the council are dealing with thousands of races, and they're all shouting and screaming. So, again, life is like a packed bar. Whoever shouts louder gets served. So the human race is only one of thousands of races, and they're all there trying to get their piece. So you can imagine what it's like, all right? Like probably a bad council meeting. So Marduk, for whatever reason, was taken out. Kim was voted in as the trustee, and they thought that, now people go, oh, isn't Mandela brilliant and isn't Putin brilliant? They had control of the trust, and they could have released that money to the people, but bloody well, none of them did. They all kept it for themselves. So when people turn around and say the likes of Putin and Nelson Mandela and a couple of the other trustees are great people, they're not, because they had access to their trust and they didn't release the money. And that's the thing. Again, it's all about control. So when Kim took over from Marduk and she decided to not go down that path, but actually give the money back to the people and the countries, that's when they start going after her and trying to take her out.
Okay, so now this council, and it's very interesting. When I had the conversation with Alan the other day, because he's telling me the information about these discussions in council, etc., and what this council is, etc. And I've talked about it on a couple of times in our chats more privately, and I think on a couple of shows, because I've seen the council. And I've seen basically this like conference room with the table and everyone sitting around the table, and seen it as in been there and been like that overwhelming frustration and what you said about it's apathetic. There's no sympathy. There's no what's the word I'm looking for? There's no
empathy. No empathy.
Thank you. That's the word. There is absolutely no empathy. And I've seen this like massive auditorium with like the podium up front, and walked in, and we had this discussion last year, I think, when we talked about the unfuckers going in and setting that intent that we're going to march in there and tell them fuck enough is enough, and saw it very, very clearly, like that. No more negotiations. No more fucking negotiations. The time for negotiating is fucking over. Now you get the shit done. Just fucking do it. Because that was the feeling, the overwhelming feeling that I've had for years, is this foot dragging, this, oh, well, we're just talking, we got to negotiate this, and then we got this, maybe we'll negotiate with these guys, we got to get the cabal to do this, and we've got to go.
Yeah.
It's like this frustration of just like, are you fucking kidding me? No more fucking negotiations. They're out. Get them out. Just do it. Just fucking do it. So that's
exactly,
again, you and I've never discussed this before. We've discussed it in this group. Ann and I discuss it quite a bit. And then you bring this piece to the table, and it just is kind of like a confirmation of like, this is the kind of shit that's going on in the background.
Exactly. And it's exactly the same. Kim and Thomas are frustrated with the council because it's the same thing. They don't seem to have any empathy, and it's kind of the prime directive and blah, 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 blah. And they're saying, and I said it to Thomas, look, I know that we caused the problem. Humanity caused the problem, so we have to fix the problem. I understand that. But what's the point? If I have a bow and arrow and they've got a AK-47, then it's not fair. And Thomas said, Thomas is on their side. But he goes back to the council, and then him and Kim come back frustrated because the council don't get it. It's all this namby-pamby. Oh, well, we have to do this and we have to do that. Yep. Again, as you said, Danny, and it's frustrating.
Frustration.
So, yeah. So it's going on at the moment, but there is major changes. I am, again, curious what Thomas will not reveal any operational stuff that's going on, because if he does, he might get somebody killed, and that's why he doesn't reveal it until he's given the go-ahead to do it. Now, I assume, by the sound of it, something important is going to be said on Saturday, by the sound of it. So I'm curious to see what that is, but I'll be there on Saturday anyway, because he's asked me and Randy to go on.
What time is that?
He's asked me to be ready at 11 p.m. my time.
Which is midnight my time.
Yeah. Now, I don't know whether that's at the start of the show. But, well, watch for my timeline, Danny, on Facebook. Yeah. And but he'll have his show tomorrow anyway. Truth, Honor, Integrity. I normally listen to his show on Friday morning because it's on too late. Yeah. So I normally tune in Friday morning, so I can post you.
Guys on this side of the pond, we have to wait till the next morning when it's the American-based shows.
That's it. So I can post you his link on Friday morning, and if you have time to listen to it, you can have a listen and see what he has to say. Now, I will say to everybody, you know, I know Thomas 3 years, and the stuff that he's told me has come through. It's happened. And I do have a trust for Thomas. We've spoken on and off personally, privately, and had a good laugh and catching up. And his integrity has always been spot on for me and other people. And that's why a lot of people, we have the THI group. But some of the information is subjective, and I can't confirm it. So I'm just going with my gut feeling, and, you know, if it resonates with me. So, and that's all I'll say to you. If you guys hear what Thomas has to say, just go with your gut feeling.
Okay, so I want to put this out, because again, it's when we bring pieces to the table from separate people, from different groups, and you can bring a historical perspective, for example, stuff that happened in 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16. I didn't know you back then. I didn't know Thomas Williams back then. I didn't. I had heard of Kim and Mana Trust because I was working with the time in 2013 with Heather from the OPPT. So I was there when she spoke to Kim at one point. And I think that was like September, October, late September, maybe early October 2013. One of the things that played out for us in Morocco, and one of the realizations that we had, of course, after the fact, and no proof of this is me giving a subjective perspective. It's my perspective of what happened there. When we were all in that clubhouse in 2014, Heather was very much always asking us, what did you dream? What did you see? What did you dream? What happened? And would encourage us to go out, go looking, remote viewing on different things. And at the time, we didn't think anything of it. And it wasn't, like I said, until much afterwards when she disappeared. And then we all started talking later that we started to say, well, wasn't that funny how we would see something, for example, in this council chamber, big time, all the time, continuously. We would see something, and then it would seem that she would do something that would kind of twist it, would kind of twist the, let's say, the conclusion of it, would twist, even just verbally saying things, oh, well, this is her interpretation of what it was, and we would accept it. And then, like I said, it came back, and we started realizing that we believe, well, I'll say I will. I'm not going to say we. I'll say I will believe. I believe that she was using us because she couldn't see what was going on in these council sessions. And she was using us to go in, go look, to get the information, and that whoever she was feeding it back to. And like, again, she was dealing with people who were purportedly signatories to these global trusts, et cetera, and had all the power and control. So one of the things, like I said, it's really interesting talking to you about this because as someone who saw it multiple times, saw these chambers and dealt with these people, beings, whatever you want to call them, who were so aloof and no empathy, like you said, and walking in and demanding to get up off your asses and fucking do something. And they'd all look like, what? No, it's fine. Everything's fine. And we were like, no, it's not fucking fine. It's gone to hell in a handbasket. We're exhausted. We need help. Get off your asses and fucking do something. This is your job. Get in there. So it's interesting when you bring these pieces forward. And there's a few people who I will direct to listen to this recording who I worked with back then. And I'll say, have a listen, because it kind of corroborates all the stuff that we saw 2013, 14, 15.
Well, I didn't know Kim and Thomas back then, so I don't really know what went on. All I can do is what resonates with me, what I feel.
Exactly.
works for me, and what Thomas has said, and the information that, as I say, some of it is subjective. I can't clarify that. Some of it, he tells me things are going to happen, and they happen, and vice versa. I've interviewed Kim. Kim has been on OIM. We did a show with Kim and Thomas, which again is available on YouTube. And I just found that, we go through life. I've been doing the alt media now for over 9 years, and I've been awake since 2001. And my belief system and my understanding of various people over that time has changed.
Oh, yeah.
And I've made mistakes, and I've thought people were, bang on when they weren't, and vice versa. And, we've all done it, and it's all part of the awakening. And Kim might be 98% DNA close to Eve, but she's still human. She still makes a mistake. And I know she's got involved. She got involved with people that she thought would be helping her or being, doing the right thing. And it turns out that they ended up either where they were cabal, or they went back to the cabal, because the cabal wanted them to try and break up Thomas and Kim together as a team. Or they trying to try to infiltrate. And this is what's been going on. It's the mind games they've been doing for years, and they're still trying to do it now. I even see it on a day-to-day basis over here in Ireland of what's going on. In the media, we have a particular lady over here who is just so left, it's unreal. And because she's so left and has a go at everybody, she's getting supported by the system. And she can go and do a video and defame people and not have YouTube take it down. But when somebody else says something about her, it has to be taken down. So we all
That's the story of my life. I just had my YouTube channel taken down, all my live streaming taken down in February of this year for a news show I did in 2015. And all I was doing was reporting on the news. And I was talking about Netanyahu and Erdogan. And I lost all my live stream, which is why we now live stream on Twitch.
Yeah, well, this is it. And even, as I say, Thomas and Kim are still human. And they make mistakes. And maybe at one time they thought people were on their side, and then they found that they weren't on their side. It's just part of the learning curve, but I can't really talk for Kim because I didn't know her at that time. I want to focus on the now. I want to focus on what's happening today and what's going on and what I can see and what resonates with me. And that's how I feel about it. And that's the information that I've been given. So if something, again, having an open mind and challenging it, if something changes and what I believe today changes tomorrow, then I'll just change my belief system. It's that, it's that easy.
If your belief, what do you say, fluid?
Fluid, yeah.
Fluid, that's it. When it's fluid, you can morph and you can change and you can take on new pieces. You can take on new drops into the fluid, and it just. And
here's the thing about having a fluid belief system. It takes away the ego.
Yeah. When you can say, "I don't know."
When you can say, I don't know, I can't comment because I don't know, you're showing confidence in your intellect because, again, for some people, not knowing something is a weakness. And I see this within people, and sometimes you test the water. But by having a fluid belief system and going, yeah, I'll change my mind. Thanks for letting me know that. That's great information. It's better than what I have. I'll change my mind. That keeps the ego in place.
Yeah, I so agree. Trying to go through the chat here. You guys can chime in anytime you want if you want to jump in and ask something.
I was going to say real quick then, Dee, you mentioned, I was so busy focused on the chat. You mentioned Alan about the ego. You two were mentioning the ego thing. That is a really sneaky thing with us. Like I've even done that. I'm guilty of it. It's like nah, because that's not being your authentic self or your genuine self if you do that anyway. So you realize you were wrong about something, and then you sort of do this mind fuck of your own to yourself, just so your ego doesn't get completely damaged.
Yep.
Well, here's the thing here's the thing that we have to do. Humanity, as a race of people, we all have to go from the child mind to the adult mind. And you remember, Danny, on the conference, we talked about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that it's nothing got to do with your age. You can be 80 and have a child mind, and you can be 21 and have an adult mind. The child mind is selfishness and ego, and the adult mind is humility and wisdom. And again, I had a great conversation last week with Anthony Peake, the scientist, and we talked about this. And everybody probably remembers the movie Groundhog Day, right? Right, Groundhog Day. Remember that movie? Well, Anthony Peake said he sat down and spoke to the guy who wrote that movie. And the whole idea behind it was for the guy who started off being selfish and just wanted to bed the girl, to the end of it, where he actually became a service to others and became a really nice person. And when that happened, it changed. And the next day happened. And that's what we have to do. We have to become adults, you know, humility and wisdom, and become service to others. That's our growth. Everybody has to have that growth. That's where we have to go. And we have to realize that. But a lot of times people don't get it. Now, I have elderly relatives who have a child mind, right? And I have people I know who are younger who have an adult mind. So again, it goes back to the psychology and understanding how the mind works. And again, you know, I know I'm plugging the conference, but if, Danny, you said it there, if people listen to what we talk about and the stages we go through, you'll understand, you know, what's going on and where we have to go with that. But that's the difference. So what you would do, the best thing to do is have a look at your friends and family and ask yourself, do they have a child mind or an adult mind?
Yeah. We have, you know, I have a really good friend of mine who is an unfucker, though he very rarely gets into the group, and that's Mike. We Be Free Mike, and his story is just brilliant, and he talks all the time about the child mind and the adult mind. And he says he lived homeless for 5 years, a little over 5 years. He gave away all his papers, like all those things that defined the corporate you, threw it all out, and he went from Germany, hitchhiked down to Spain, and lived as a homeless person in Spain for 5 years. Talking, busking, talking to people. And he said that was his journey. His journey was for him to grow up, to go from the child to the adult mind. And he said he talks about it all the time, the fact of you can meet people who are 60, 70, 80, who still have a child mind. They still are in that loop, that child mind. And then you can talk to all of a sudden a 16-year-old and go, oh my God, they've got such an adult mind. Like they grasp all this stuff intuitively.
Maybe like I have an elderly auntie who's 87 and she has a child mind. Maybe she's a young soul. Maybe that's a young soul. And you know, when she comes back, if she reincarnates, then it's part of the journey to the next stage.
Maybe.
But that's really where we have to get to. All of us have to get to that.
I was just going to jump in here real quick if I could. When you mentioned about about what you just talked about a minute ago, makes me think of being a whole being, whatever that means, being a whole individual.
The whole individual, I'd say, Star, again, I talk about this, is we go, I put it down to 3 stages. We go from the matrix, then we go to being aware of the cabal and what's going on in the world, and then we go to self-aware of who we are as energy, as a spiritual being. The problem is that some people become aware and never become self-aware, or some people become self-aware and don't know why they're self-aware. They don't know about what's going on in the world, but I'm all very spiritual, and I don't want to go anything negative, but they don't understand why. And
because
so
they
skip
stuck in a belief construct.
Yeah. So they skip the process. So we do have to go from the matrix to become aware and self-aware to be a whole person. And that's what you mean, Star, to be a whole person and then get to the adult stage. You know, that's the journey that we all have to go on.
Yep. No, I agree. I find this all really, really fascinating, and I will go back and look through some of this information. Because there's certain things, and like I've said, things come into focus. And things come into focus at certain times for a reason. And Anne and I have been talking nonstop for the last few weeks about looking at some of the stuff that we were discussing in 2012, 2013, because it feels relevant again, where it hasn't felt relevant for years, and then all of a sudden perception just it strongly draws into focus, and then we look at it and go, well, there's a piece here, and we start dissecting it. We start pulling out the pieces of the puzzle and putting them back on the table, because we forget. There's stuff that we heard back in 2011, 2010 that we just literally forget. And then when all of a sudden you hear a recording and you go, oh, wow, because now, back in 2011, it didn't have the impact. We had no point of reference for that information. And then skip forward to 2019 and you re-listen to it again, you go, oh, snap. Now I can see it, because we have more pieces on the table that fit with those pieces. And it helps us to discern the picture a little more clearly. And a lot of this information that we're looking at, and like we did a show 3 weeks ago, guys, when we talked about the Skinwalker Ranch, and we talked about Project Looking Glass, and we talked about all this kind of stuff of how 2012 that was all very, very relevant, and then all of a sudden it just kind of went, oh, and it disappeared. Like no one was talking about it, and now all of a sudden, mid 2019, early mid 2019, all this is become extremely relevant again. With like even to this, we're going to storm Area 51 September 20th, and that came out, and I was just like, holy shit! I have to review this now. I have to go back when like that so slaps you in the face. Boom! You're like, okay, now we have to bring this back up and relook at the topics again.
That's the 4-year loop. That's the looping again. It's coming around again. That's them again. Pamela posted up there on the chat, I just quickly seen about being a sovereign individual, and she's spot on. The whole idea of being a sovereign individual is taking responsibility for your actions. I had this debate with somebody regarding drink driving, and I said, oh, you don't need laws. And they go, oh no, you do need laws. You need a nanny state, because otherwise people would be drink driving. And I said, but if you're a sovereign individual and you take care of your own responsibility, you would know that drink driving is not a good idea, and you wouldn't do it. You don't need a nanny state to do that. But she couldn't get the concept behind it because she had a child mind. So she needed the nanny state or the mammy state to tell her not to drink. The mammy state to tell her not to drink. And I'm thinking, so you're incapable of making that choice yourself. You need somebody else to tell you. So, and this is the problem with our society. And so you can't blame the cabal in one side seeing it the way they do, because they think we're little kids and we can't manage ourselves. So they have to manage us.
That has been done on purpose, right? And that's where we can look at the programming. We can look at the broad spectrum programming, especially over just the last 100 years alone. They have created a nanny state by generationally creating people who take less and less responsibility for themselves, who not only take less responsibility for themselves, who have no concept of that it is their responsibility to take responsibility. Like they literally, it's been completely wiped out of their education, out of society, etc. And if you look at the last 100 years, it is so clearly seen. All the actions that were put into place, all the programs that were put into place, all the pieces that were put into place to lead to this point right now, where you have not just one generation. People like to blame the millennials, right? No. Like multiple generations of people who have no concept about self-responsibility. None. And if you say be responsible, it's like, well, I work for a living. Really? That's what you consider to be responsible? No, that's not what this is at all. We're talking about self-responsibility.
I also think at the same token, there is a lot of that going on that people just don't realize. Like every single day you get in your car, there are tons of people driving death machines that could easily just kill you.
Yep.
But no one does because I feel like that's a small example of the,
Yep.
like we do that every day.
Yep, absolutely.
No, definitely. The system was put in place because if we were self-sufficient and just did our own thing, we wouldn't need government. And the fact that the government want to control everything means that justifies their existence.
And justifies the size of government. It justifies the bureaucratic monster that they've built. Right? It's like it's one thing to have government and say, okay, well, there's a president and there's his chamber, or prime minister, and there's their chamber of advisors. But we now have a bureaucratic pile of bullshit that is so massive. And it's all justified by the nanny state of that. Well, no, because we need more and more people to tell everyone what to do. Sorry, Mercedes, what were you going to say, Mercedes?
Can you hear me?
Yes, love.
I just plugged the iBox, and I just wanted to share with sovereignty. It also becomes to know about the body functions and what heals and what prevents, and all this stuff. Therefore, I went to naturopathy to learn about all these functions, and there I realized with how that we aren't just an accident.
Yep.
Because there's so many things that are so fine-tuned. It gets out of balance, we get sick.
Yep.
So,
Mercy, that where a computer has a reset.
Yeah.
When you select on a computer, you go default setting. So if you cut your hand, it's amazing that the body has a record of your default setting. So when it heals, it goes back to default.
Yep.
So is that contained in our DNA? How does the body know that?
Yep. And that's that. But again, and I love the way Mercedes said that, because that is part of sovereignty. But like even that simplistic of like taking responsibility for our own health, right? Not just how many people we still do. I still run into them all the time. Oh, and people who are so-called awake, people who consider themselves awake and like, oh, my daughter's got a little bit of a sniffles. I'm going to take her to the doctor. I'm like, it's a fucking cold. The doctor's not going to do anything for you other than give her drugs, which you're going to then say, oh, she doesn't really want the drugs. She doesn't need. Well, then why are you going to the doctor? Like,
that's,
you know what I mean? Like being responsible for even is the simplistic of our own selves in our own healing. When you understand that, there comes a responsibility when you go, I'm not going to put this responsibility on somebody to cure my cancer after I've given myself cancer because I've ate McDonald's 5 days a week for the last 40 years of my life, right? Oh, and now I need to go to a doctor to fix, the fact that I have completely blocked arteries and I've got stomach cancer.
Yep.
That's why they call it doctor's practice.
Yeah.
Because they practice. And also we need to internalize. We all have the ability to heal ourselves. I know we look for the external sources to do that. And, there's no harm doing that, but we need to learn. We have the ability to heal ourselves. We need to develop that ability and work on it so we can do it with ourselves. But doctor's practice, that's a good name really, isn't it?
Right. Danny, I was going to say, is my mic on? Can you hear me?
Right there, Jane.
Hey. I was just going to say, I don't know why I'm not popping up. Okay. I was thinking about this just a couple of days ago. I was noticing how it seems like all this information about the financial system and is re-looping again. From 10 years ago, we're seeing it all over again. And the other thing I was going to say is, the programming is so thick for humanity, and people, they've changed the history from time to time. They change history around, And I mean, people are fucking dizzy as bats, you know, just trying to get their heads out of the sand, trying to get a grip, you know, what the hell is really going on? And I just, it's confusing for so many people. And then, and then the prescription medications, you know, that so many people are on. It's like, you know, you just can't even put a dent in a lot of people.
Yeah. And some people, I agree with Alan, some people you just can't. And don't even bother trying, because the programming is so thick. And whether you want to call them bots or you want to call them mind controlled, whatever, there's some people, and I've talked about this in my own family, right? My mom, there's no way to break through the religious programming. None whatsoever. There's no, and I've watched where we've had conversations over the last 30 years where we've had a conversation and you can plug something to her so logically that it is irrefutable, and you watch the eyes glaze over and then she just changes the subject. She is so programmed. I don't talk to her. And it's like Alan said, like you just sit there and you go, I'm not, she cannot be unprogrammed. She cannot.
You.
What was that, love?
She's probably listening to you and rebuking you silently.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But it's not just that. You actually watch the wall. You watch people hit that wall. You state a piece of logic that is so irrevocably true. It is just right. You can't beat that piece of logic, and they run into it like walking into a force field, a glass wall. They smack into it, and then they bounce off, and they go, this does not compute, cognitive dissonance, and it's like, change the subject. Let's talk about something else.
They've got a huge investment.
What I think is super sad is the people that are just now wondering what the hell's going on. It's like, I've been doing this since 2002. Like if somebody, I just feel sorry for the people that are just now trying to figure this out. Like a lot of us have had years of of slowly digesting this and slowly, you know, coming to terms and looking deeper. And I don't know how you even begin to tell somebody like.
Here?
Yeah, I was going to say it's very hard. Exo. I think that's the name. You've hit the nail on the head. This is what's happening at the moment. The external war is going to be the releasing of information like Epstein and Pizzagate and everything else, and people won't be able to deal with it because it'll be in their face. This is what Thomas said in 2016. He said all this information is going to be coming out, and people will find it hard to deal with it because we've had the time over the years to soak it in, to digest it, to research it and understand it. Now it's all coming out in floods of information. And people, I mean, remember, the whole idea of priests being pedophiles and abusing kids was a conspiracy theory at one stage.
Yeah,
you know, so all this stuff is coming out.
It was.
And if you look at, religion now, look, I don't really have time for religion. Religion was an experiment, a divide and conquer experiment. That's what religion was, right? And people give out to us and they might say, oh yeah, you believe in E.T., ha ha ha. And I go, okay, hang on a minute. Let's have a look at the Bible. By the way, words are spells. That's why they call it spelling. So if you look at the word Bible, break it up. Buy the bull. Do you buy the bull? Bible, buy the bull. The Bible is the Cabbal's prediction of life. It's not ours.
It's their gameplay book.
History. That's his story, not our story. History, his story. All right. Yeah. Well, here you go. Some people say to me, I play music. I'm in a band, and one of the guys is a minister, and he's saying, "Oh yeah, you believe in ETs." And I said to him, "Well, okay, let me look at you're religious." And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Right, okay." So according to your belief system in your book, you have a talking snake, a woman that eats an apple. You have a man that speaks to a burning bush. You have a guy with a big ship that all the animals 2 by 2 go into, and another guy changes water into wine, then he walks on water, and then he comes back. And then you pray to this person who you've never seen, and there's more evidence that ET crafts and ETs exist than God, and you think I'm nuts.
Yeah. Exactly. And then you have the cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
But you have to have faith.
Yeah. It's brilliant. But here's the other thing. You know the way when kids grow up and you have imaginary friends, and the mother and father might, give out to them or smack them and say, "Don't be silly. There's no such thing." And then they go to mass on Sunday.
Just pray to your imaginary friend. Yeah, don't listen. I was brought up in a religious household. Just don't even get me started on this.
Yeah. I know. I was the same. I was the same. But this is why we need to look at how programmed people are in society. And when you look at what they're into and what the programming is, you think, but that's ridiculous. Like even the word TV program. The word program is spelled PROGRAMME. Now split program and me, program me. License, right? The TV license. Divide that up. Lie to the senses. That's what a TV does. It lies to your senses. And that's why it's called spelling, because they're spells.
Yeah.
Tell vision, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's just when you start evaluating and looking at words that are used in society and how people are programmed, and you see it, it is the Matrix. You see it and they don't see it. And you just think, man, why don't you see this? It's going back to the movie They Live, 1988, your man with the glasses,
We have a copy of that, and my husband just sat down and watched it with my eldest daughter last week. And so that's one of my things I always talk about, the random movies that you put on.
Mm.
And now everyone jokes, I have several bricks, as I call them, which are massive hard drives, and I have over 6 terabytes of movies and TV shows. So when I say I can go and just randomly flick through and just pick something, I mean I have got everything. But I love how you pick up something. So just before I came to sit down, because my girls are out, so there's no one in the living room. The front of the house is that way, and the boys' bedroom is up that way, and they don't like it being really, really quiet. So Nick put on a movie to have background noise, just so it's in the living room. So it's just kind of background noise and helps the boys sleep. What movies he put on? He puts on Star Trek, the new movies, the second movie, and it opens up with the whole scene of them on the planet Nibiru, which right there is fucking hysterical. And they're trying to rescue the planet because there's a massive volcano that's going to go off and destroy the planet. And the premise of the opening scene is that they're basically going to put a cold fusion reactor, drop it into the volcano to stop the volcano from erupting and thereby save this species of people. And they're very, very primitive peoples. And they do all these kinds of things they weren't supposed to do. They get in all kinds of trouble because basically the Star Trek Enterprise is in the ocean, and to rescue the guy in the volcano, they bring the whole Star Trek, the Enterprise comes up out of the ocean in front of all of these primitive people and flies over, and then they get in shit from the Starfleet, kind of like the Council, right? And Kirk is saying to him, but we saved an entire planet full of people. We saved them. And the Starfleet, i.e. like the Council, is just like, but you broke the Prime Directive. You let them see you. You've interfered with their thing. So everything you did, you should have just let them all die because you just interrupted our rules. And I sat there watching the scene. Like I said, I only got to watch the first 15 minutes of the movie before I came to sit down here. And I'm watching that and going, that is so actualized. Like that scene so fits with the conversation you and I had with the stuff that Anne and I had been discussing, of that it doesn't matter. There's no empathy. There's no empathy there whatsoever. It's like, no, we have these rules, and the rules state this must happen this way. And it doesn't matter what is outside the rules. You have to follow those rules. And yeah. It feels so relevant. And it's laughing when you said They Live, right? Nick and my eldest daughter sat and watched that last week because Nick was like, no, I'm going to show you a really groovy movie from the 80s now. Here you go. These things come up and they're relevant. So like us, we're all on Aftershow, we watch Fringe every night. Every Sunday night, we have been watching for months now. We watch 2 episodes of Fringe, and we're starting season 4 this Sunday. And it never fails. And sometimes we have like a week where we don't do it because something comes up, et cetera, et cetera. And there'll like be like a piece of news, or we'll have a conversation in the Unfuck It discussion. And we'll go and watch the next episode, and it will be completely relevant to the discussion we had 3 days before, 4 days before. And you're just like, these pieces just come up. And it's like you say, no, I don't believe in coincidence. When we have these pieces come up for us just prior to, having a discussion, you're like, oh yeah, look right there. That just laid it right out perfectly.
Misty kicks in. Sorry, Jane.
I'm so sorry. You had touched on reset. And we've discussed that many times. Reset of the planet, of humanity. And a lot of us feel like, that is very, very true. And that they could very well be preparing for their next reset.
Yep.
The reset. I have mentioned this on the show to Thomas, to press the button, because looking at humanity the way it is at the moment, I'm very concerned that it'd probably take us another 100 years to all get to the stage where we have an adult mind. And I said it to Thomas. I said, maybe you should speak. I mentioned it to the universe, the council, to do the reset. Now, we've been reset 5 times in the past. We all know that there's evidence of technology that, they found from previous incarnations of the planet.
Yep.
And there's no advanced technology. We've had all the advanced technology. Everybody knows about the Vedas, flying crafts, and that was thousands of years ago. So we've had that technology before. And
including computers.
Sorry?
Including computers.
Actually, Thomas showed me a photo of a military guy in the 1960s with a laptop, which is interesting. So they have all this technology. I worked for a company when I lived in London. I worked for a company who did the PR and marketing for Dolly the sheep, the first cloned sheep. Some of you might remember that.
Yep.
Now, if they're coming out in public in 2001 talking about cloning and a sheep, you can guarantee they've been doing it since probably the 50s, 60s, earlier, right? So they have all the technology. But the problem is, as you say, Jane, about the reset, maybe that might happen. I mean, let me put it this way. Thomas said something concerning to me last night. And this is why I said to you about the show either tomorrow night or Saturday night, what he has to say and what's being said by the council. I don't know what's going to be said. But the one thing he did say to me was the one prime directive is the existence of the species, right? Humans. So I don't know what's coming down the line. Danny, funny enough, you said the other day, when we were talking the other day, you said, something's coming. I feel it. Something's coming, right? And I remember that. And I asked the THI people, and I said to the THI people, how are you feeling? The experiences that people have said to me, 2 experiences. One of them is, and I feel this myself, people are saying that they feel like an aircraft going around the airport, and they're waiting on air traffic control to call them in.
Land. Yep.
So we're just waiting, right? The other thing is that we're not getting involved in anything deep, or things that we used to have an interest in. We're not interested in anymore. We just don't do it.
Yep.
Right. We just kind of. I'm not interested in that. I want to move. Right.
Nodding here that we've had this discussion, Alan. I can't tell you how many times we've had this discussion in the last 6 months.
Brilliant. Well, that ties in. Also, people might say to you, will you ever sit down, or will you ever make up your mind what you want to do? We keep chopping and changing because all these energies are coming in and we're not sure what we have to do. So we're flying around the airport waiting on clearance. But in the meantime, we're just trying different things, and we're not going back to the thing that we used to like because we want to try something different. This is what is. Sorry?
But different.
Yeah,
that's the conversation we had. Like, give us something new, not just changing a job or like, and we're not going to do gardening anymore, and I'm going to do macrame. No, It's like, no, this needs something absolutely new, because everything else is boring us now.
Yeah, basically. And then we're circling the airport waiting at the same time. So while we're running around trying to find this thing that's going to interest us, and people are going, bloody hell, will you ever make your mind up? We're circling thinking, when are we going to get clearance? Because we're all fed up. We're all got to the stage. We're fed up. The system is a pain in the arse. We've no money. We're struggling, and bills are coming in. There's more money going out than coming in. And all these things are going on.
And then at the same time,
Sorry?
then at the same time, there are that whole other group of people that are just clueless.
Yeah, totally.
And to throw out an analogy that just kind of came to my mind that I thought was really awesome was like, I don't know if you're all familiar with Plato's cave analogy, right? Where you have the people and the light behind them, and the light casts the shadows, and they can't move. They can only see the shadows. And one person goes outside and sees real reality, and it just blows their mind. And they go back to the cave, and they try and tell them about this reality, and they literally cannot comprehend it. Well, the rabbit hole leads out of Plato's cave.
Yeah.
So those of us who have gone down that rabbit hole, we've seen what the world is like and how things really are. And we're trying to describe to these people who are only seeing the shadows on the wall, and like, no matter what you say, they just cannot comprehend it. That's where that blank stare happens.
Yes, it's like some of us have had the blinds removed, and others are walking around blind as bats.
So like the rabbit hole leads out of Plato's cave, and those of us who've gone down and out there kind of explains why I literally cannot explain.
Well, here's the thing.
Some of us are so ready, and the other people that are just like, what's going on?
They don't want to be ready. They don't want to know. Well, this is, Ann and I, and we discuss this all the time, and we said about if we were going to try and re-record. We had 3 major conversations this week, and we didn't record any of them, and I'm kicking myself now because to try and reiterate it now would be impossible.
You got to cut that out.
Yeah, I know. We talk about dream time. It is very obvious to all of us that when we go off, and whether you're in meditative state, whether you're in sleep, in dream time, we're off and we're doing things on some other plane of reality, on some other, whether you want to call it the astral realm, whether you want to call it another dimension, however you want to define that. It is very obvious that we are working our asses off on this other level. And Anne came up with, and she was listening to some older recordings. And she brought a couple of pieces to the table that we were discussing, going, wow, that's pretty cool. And then you were talking, you just listened to something that was Alison Coe. And she was talking about, she'd done a regression. This is some woman who does like the hypnotic regression stuff, and she regresses people. And certain people, she has their permission to ask them further questions, like out above and beyond what's going on. And what was it she said the woman had said, Anne?
Hi, Alan, by the way. I'm down the road from you in Wexford.
She's your neighbor.
Not far at all.
Yeah, this particular woman found herself on a ship with a clipboard, and there were lots of other people around with clipboards, and she was telling people where to go and making sure families were together and organizing things. Now, what pinged me about that is that I know that several of us have had dreams of being in that kind of situation. Several of us have seen Danny, for instance, standing there with the clipboard, marking things off. Gail has had dreams of being in a warehouse, checking out supplies and organizing things. And that was really interesting to have somebody from a completely different area, background, etc. As on Fuckers, we are all somewhat entangled with each other, obviously, because we've been together as a group for a long time. So if we have common dreams, it's not really that unusual. But when you can tie what our dreams in with things that other people completely unrelated are dreaming, to me, that's more interesting.
Yeah.
A dream, or was it astral, Anne?
The good question.
How do you define that, right? Do we know?
Oh yeah, I'll tell you. I've been there, and it's not nice. I was on the astral twice and got attacked. There's some ugly ETs up there, and there was a bit of satanic stuff going on. But because I know how to deal with it, it was okay. It was fine. Basically, how you know the difference is a dream state is a kind of very light, airy fairy kind of I'm in a dream. On the astral, it's like you are there. Like literally you are there. You're it's like you're awake in your physical body and you are there. You will, if you're on the astral, you will know you're on the astral because it's like you are awake and you are there. Where a dream state is kind of very light, airy fairy,
Okay.
Well, this is
so the times when Danny and I and various other unfuckers have gone into the council meetings. Now that's something else. That's not astral and it's not a dream.
No.
It's working on another dimension.
When you're going in, literally.
Well, yeah.
And this is one of the things
that's interesting in itself because I mentioned the council with Kim and Thomas, and you mentioned it as well, and the same frustrations are there where they're going in and saying we need to do something. They're going, prime directive, blah 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 blah, and you just feel like walking out and telling them to stick it where the sun doesn't shine.
Yeah. Oh, and like literally getting so angry, and I know what you're talking about with that. When you have dream state stuff and it's very, very, like you say, light and airy fairy and kind of, and then you have the stuff that you see, whether you're dreaming, like i.e. nighttime or not, and it is extremely real. You were there. You can smell it. You can talk about the textures of like, and I had one of the very first council meetings I ever saw in the massive auditorium. I can tell you the chair I sat on. I can describe it in detail to the point there was a tear in the chair, a tear in the fabric, and it was scratching my leg. And I kept I kept shifting like to sit cross-legged to one side of the chair. So whatever this rip was that's the kind of in-depth detail that you come back with. And it's, like I said, this isn't a dream.
Visceral.
It's visceral. It's the like I said, those ones where you can smell, you come back with the sense of smell that of what you've been through. You can smell where you've been. It's on that kind of a level. And I know what you mean about that astral and the attacks. And I told Anne, I didn't tell anyone else, but I told Anne about this. I had one happen to me just this week. I guess it would be last week now. And I woke up knowing, and I have triggers now that I know the triggers. I can see them when they start happening and playing out, when the dream is being externally fucked with whatever you're doing is being externally fucked with. And I start to see flickers of light out to the peripheral. And when it happens, when in this one dream is everything was going very, very strange. The dream was all fine. Everything was, and I was on some kind of an operation. I was out doing something, and it was like a rescue kind of stuff. It was all fine until it got to a certain point. And then all of a sudden, everything started feeling very strange. And at one point, there was a guy in the dream, and he starts talking to me, and he's telling me off for something. And I got really angry. And then I turned back, and I look at him, and as soon as I looked at him, I was like, "You're fucking wrong. Oh, you're so fucking wrong." And I reached out, and I grabbed the guy by his head, and I pulled him up. And as I pulled him up, and I'm looking at it from both. I'm there in the dream, but I'm also above watching the dream. And as I pulled him up, I started to see the flickers. And I know, and I can literally pull myself out of sleep instantly. And I pull myself out of sleep and sit up in bed, and the flickers are still there. Everything is still flickering out, lights flickering off to the side. And with my eyes wide open, I can see that everything around me is like almost as if you're looking through water. Like it's all morphing, almost like looking through a heat wave, that heat shimmer. And I was instantly so angry, like, how fucking, no, you don't fucking do this. And I was like, you need to wake up fully. So I got up, I went to the bathroom, turned on the bathroom lights as well, so you have that bright light that flashes your brain. to help really fully wake you up. Had a pee, turned off the light, went back to bed and sat down, take that cess and going like, yeah, no, it's still there. It's still going on. And I laid back down and I said to Ann, I was in such a rage. I was just huge. And I literally went out and I was like, laid down. I was like, I'm going to get you fuckers. I'm going to get you fuckers. And I laid back down and I immediately saw the face of a woman appear kind of like here. And I just literally it was like just rage at her. And it was like, fuck you. And just boom, blow it up. And there was like a man's face. And I was seeing the faces and I was just literally destroying them. I was so angry. At the same time, unlike any other time, usually I can pull myself out. I was still seeing all the flickers going on. Oh, look at that. My internet connection is unstable. Isn't that funny how that just happens? The internet connection goes unstable.
Yeah. Hey, Danny, I just sent you a dream that I had a while ago. It was totally one of those things where like I had realized who the people in my dream were, and they were like, he's not supposed to be able to know who we are.
I've heard those. I've actually heard those. I've heard that. Aaron, I have actually heard them say, she's awake. No, yeah. She is awake. And I've woken up, especially when my kids were younger, and kids wake up in the middle of the night. So you come up, and I would literally be looking at seeing what I call the green screens. And you see the green screens and seeing data scrolling. And one of my kids would wake up, and I'd get up, and I'd be walking, and the green screens are still there in front of me. So I'm looking through them at the rest of the house, but the green screens are still there. And I've literally heard them say, she's awake, she's awake. And all of a sudden it would go, whoop, and it would disappear. And I've had that multiple times. I've literally heard them say that, like, yeah. Oh, fuck, she's awake.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. What about when somebody passes and so real quick, I had a friend, not like a close friend, but a social friend who was killed in a car accident, and they came to me, I guess the night of the car accident. They came to me and wanted to know if I could give him a ride. He was meeting some people. He was going away on a trip. And so I gave him a ride, and it was he wanted me to drop him off at this river. And there were banks on both sides of the river. And I was helping him unpack his things that he was taking with him. And you could see up and down both sides of the river along the banks. There were other people there, and they were all like waiting for something together. And you could see campfires going and stuff. And then once I had dropped him off and got him unloaded, he said goodbye to me. Again, this was just a social friend. And the next morning, I called to talk to his wife, and I said, hey, put Richard on the phone. And she said, oh, I'd love to, Jane, but my husband was killed in a car accident last night. And, it was just because I dropped him off by a river, and he was going away. And I remember saying, okay, you got everything you need. And he, went to hug me, and that was it. And the next morning he was gone. Yeah. I just think it's really weird. He was dropped off at, I don't know.
Yep.
He was going on a journey. And
yeah, Mercedes just said the river Styx. Yeah. The concept of the river Styx, right? Yeah. No, this is the thing. It is very obvious that there's stuff going on, that we're involved in stuff going on. And one of the things that Ann had said in the Allison Co thing is Allison had asked this woman, like, well, who are all, what, okay, like, why do you have the clipboard? What are you doing? It was like organizing people. Well, like, how did you, and they're like, well, we're training for this. We trained for this at night while we're sleeping. We've been training to be able to do this job. And it's all the people who have been awake for a long time are the ones who are doing these jobs because they're already awake. So they're not on the crash course right now, I guess. Because I agree with Zero. Like the concept of these people who are just waking up. We've got 3 good friends of ours here who I have to admit I kind of nudged them into the deep end of the pool kind of badly. And now they're just going through everything, like just literally. And in the last year, they've been through so many rabbit holes. They've learned so much. They've gone through so much of this shit. And I'm like, and they've come to me and I've been like, are you kidding? You're a fucking hero. I've had decades to absorb this information, decades to slowly, take my time, do one rabbit hole and then come back and then go maybe do another one. You're doing the crash course. Like, you've learned all this in 12 months, what took me like 20 years. I don't know how people are doing it. Like, I can't even imagine what it would be like to be going through this right now. Like, holy crap.
When I woke up, I couldn't stop. I was like, every minute I got, I was researching and taking notes. I couldn't walk away from it.
When you get bitten by the bug, you want the truth and you go and do the research. Now, Thomas did say, earlier on I said when we were talking about the divide between the 3D and the 5D and the fact that all our intentions have been mapped and the choices have been making who's gone where. And Thomas did make a statement on his show there a while ago saying that as of from, I think it was December 2017, the people that need to be awake are awake. And that's it. From then on, what happens to the people who aren't awake, or whether there's some kind of reprieve for people who do wake up quickly. But that's just a statement that he made. And again, you take it on board. It's, there's a reason why he said it. But you are seeing an escalation of information coming out and people are not coping with the information, especially if you're stuck. Like, if you imagine all the religious people who are stuck in the religious belief system, and then they found out, over here in Ireland, we had, Anna will tell you, we had the thing called the Ryan Report when it all came out about the paedophile priests and all the abuse in the church. And there's still people going to the bloody church and they're supporting this paedophile bloody organization, and I can't believe it. And like, Danny, you were in Malta. Talk about religion. I know Malta very well.
I talked to a Gazeton lady, someone who I know, like local, but know her like she runs one of the shops. So you chit chat every now and then. And I don't know how the fuck the subject came up, but somehow the subject came up about pedophile priests. And she literally looked at me and was like, oh, yeah, well, we've known this for, like, I've known it my whole life. We've all known this. I mean, like, my dad would never let us go near the priests. Yet they still go to church every week. And they take their children to church every week, even knowing this. I remember just looking at her going, like, I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, how do you respond to that without, A, insulting the shit out of her, beating the shit out of her, or just, I was just like, oh, what do you say? Like, literally, what do you say? I can't believe you know this. You keep going back to the same church, and you take your children there. Like, okay, you guard your children, you make sure you never let your child be an altar boy or whatever. And how can you go and be a part of that church? How? That's my cognitive dissonance right there.
What you just said there, I was going to say real quick. Yeah, what you just said there, some deeply programmed, like, cognitive this to the point where you just said that's really bad when that trumps what best for the children, but the offspring. That trumps. That's how bad it is to me. When it trumps that.
Here's the. I'm going to give people a solution. It's way past me bedtime, so I will be saying goodbye. But I want to give you a solution. I want to give you a solution. I put this up on Facebook. As I said, Open Your Mind Radio. Before we knew Thomas, myself and Steve were, if we had spare cash through our donations, we would support homeless charities and certain groups and stuff like that. And we were talking on THI as a group, and Thomas came up with a very, very simple solution. And it's so simple people can't believe how simple it is. You see, the trouble is with the natural law, or say the law of nature. Ralph Ring, we interviewed Ralph Ring. He was an expert. Ralph, he's a good guy, and he was on the show, and he's an expert in the law of nature. And he said that human beings complicated through ego, because sometimes things are so easy. It's unreal. Nature makes things easy. Human beings make it hard.
Yes.
And Thomas said, it's very easy. Imagine if everybody, say, let's take Ireland, because I'm from Ireland and Anne's there as well, right? So let's take Ireland, right? So, and I posted this up on my Facebook page, right? I said, what if 10,000 people in Ireland donated just €1, just €1 a month, right? €1 a month. That's 10,000 euros coming in a month. Can you imagine how many people and groups we could help with that money? Now, if you think about it, people will go, they'll think about it and they'll go, well, no, that won't work. And you go, well, why won't it work? People buy lottery tickets. They donate to the church in the church plate. They pay for parking tickets. They buy expensive cappuccino coffees. Yes. They buy sweet tickets.
Fucking your coffees.
Yeah, exactly. So they do all that without even thinking, and they don't get anything from it, and there's no guarantees even with the lottery. So when you suggest something like, how about €1 a month? Can you afford €1 a month to help humanity? And they look at you strange, and they even think twice about €1. So what we're trying to do, what I'm trying to get people to do, and I posted it up on Facebook, and I suppose it's a little bit of an experiment. So what I did was I spoke to my spiritual people, and they said, do it. And I went, okay. So I've set up a Patreon page for a Circle of White Light. And I basically put it up on Facebook, and I said, look, it's only €1. We're going to do an experiment to see how it works. And if people take it on board. And Thomas knows about this because we talked about this on shows about how simple this solution is. And Danny, you could do the same thing with your group. You could say €1 a month. Obviously, you know, expenses have to be paid. That's understandable because if you're traveling and doing all that, but if you had 10,000 coming in, you could help so many people, so many groups, and still have a couple of quid to cover your expenses. Yep. Now, I'm not. The trouble with a lot of these bloody charities is that, and the reason why these corporate companies charge so much with their 40 or 50% markup is to pay CEOs 250 or 1 million of a salary. I mean, I'm arseholes, right? The whole idea of THI with the foundation money, if that comes true, is that we're going to set up businesses which are cooperatives, right? The markup will only be 15%, and 5% of that will be given to the staff as a dividend at the end of the year. But the business will be a cooperative. It won't be a proper capitalist system, which is now, because normal companies who are based on a capitalist approach, there's only 44% success rate for them, but there's 88% for cooperatives. And cooperatives means the staff have a say and they have a control of the business. And the CEOs or the person running it will not be on a big whacking salary. They'll be on a decent salary, but they won't be paid ridiculous money. This is the whole idea of thinking different with THI and the business model. So what I was asked to do by THI, so everybody in THI globally, well, I will not say everybody, it was about 78 people on the THI group, and I presented the THI business model of how it will be done in every country as THI. And I'm not going to go into it because it's quite involved, but I can always do the presentation for you guys if you want to see it.
Yep.
How we are thinking different in how to set up the business and how to work differently and how to respect each other and how the business would work and the business model would work. Yep. My background is corporate IT, and I worked in London and worked in the Square Mile. So all this is just, second nature for me. And so that's why I did the presentation. But this is the thing with THI, it's about thinking different. But the whole idea of the €1 solution So if you just say to people, even for a bit of fun, when people say, "Oh, isn't homelessness terrible? Isn't repossession terrible?" and you say to them, "You know what? We can fix the problem. You can fix the problem. We can all fix the problem." And they'll go, "How do you do that?" "Oh, €1 a month." They won't believe you.
No.
They won't believe you because it's
because
so
they've been programming
simple.
them. Like that's the programming. Oh, €1 never going to change anything.
10,000 people donate €1 a month. Imagine how many people we could help. And all they have to do is donate the money. You're not asking them to give any energy or anything like that. All you're saying is donate €1 a month. That's all you're saying. And that's how simple it can be. But because it's so simple, people don't think it'll work.
You know what, Alan? I tried to set up something in 2013. It was for all of us who are working in the alt media, who are busting our hump, who are like bust ass broke. And I tried to set up, for months I worked on it, that if we got donations in, say for example, let's say I had RTS, so removing the shackles. If I received, let's say, $100 in donations in a month, that I would take 10% and send out, split it up, and send 10% of, split it up and say pick 10 different alternative media guys and send them each a donation of $1. And I tried to encourage, I said, look, if everyone did this, because some people get $500, $600, $700 a month, if they could take 10% out and put it back into the alt media. So we started supporting each other. All I heard from everyone, even then, was like, it's useless. It's a useless, and I got laughed at when I sent, like a $1 donation to someone. And this one guy, very, very well known, I won't give a name, and he literally laughed and was just like, what am I supposed to do with this? I said, well, how about you put that into yours? And I gave him the whole thing of like what I was trying to do. No, I got a few people involved. It went on for about 5-6 months, and then it just petered away, because most people, the instant reaction they had was, well, that's not going to help. That's not going to help. I'm like, but it could. And if you got everyone involved, it actually could help. It's getting people to break through that programming. And the thing about business, right? Like for me, I have my skincare company and my Gaia's Garden. And it's a continuous struggle. I was talking to another buddy of mine today saying, like, I don't know what to do, because we're continuously struggling to get sales up enough that they hold. Because right now we pay so much in taxes. And you guys in America, I'm sorry, when you guys bitch about your taxes, you have no fucking clue. You guys are fucking clueless about taxes until you come to Europe, okay? I pay 18% VAT tax on everything. I pay it on all the incoming ingredients. I pay it on every sale. I pay it on the shipping, incoming and outgoing. 18% VAT on everything. Then we pay income tax on top of that. And all of my oils that come in from, say, Morocco, I also get charged duties. And the duties are charged on everything. And then 18% VAT tax is put on top of the duties that we pay. And we just sat down and realized, like, we just did our 6 months for this year. Like, we just closed out June's books, and we were like, did the 6 months. And we literally sat there and went, technically, we've taken 6,000 euros in wages. So 1,000 euros a month wages. That's what we've taken. And we have nothing to show. We have like literally nothing to show. We have all our sales, all the money has gone into taxes that we've just paid to the government. So we paid another, this year so far, we've paid over $5,000 just in VAT tax. Then you've got on top, then you have all the duties that we've also paid, et cetera, et cetera. And we sat there and we literally looked at each other and going like, look, we don't, and I won't raise my price. I refuse to raise my prices, because my thing is like, I want everyone to be able to afford good skincare. I want everyone to be able to afford C60. I want everyone to be able to afford good health and good products. So I refuse to raise my prices because they're already, in my opinion, too fucking expensive. And I can't. Like literally, it's like this, and you sit and you go. But that's my whole thing. When we started the business, we deal direct. We deal directly with the cooperative in Morocco where we buy our oils from. I deal direct with farmers who are making essential oils, so that I'm not doing the middleman. Sometimes I have to, but I try to not, because I want to be able to pay fair money to the people who are doing the work. So for my cooperative in Morocco, I pay retail for my oils. I won't pay wholesale because they're not making enough money as it is. So I refuse to pay the wholesale. I only pay the retail price for the oils because I want them to make the money, an honest wage for the amount of work that they do. And when you talk to people and you try to explain, when I try to explain what I'm doing, you get that blank stare of but capitalism, they can't comprehend that. They can't.
Tax rate is 23%, but in Ireland, we tax on our labour is voluntary, and I have evidence to prove that from the ex-Inland Revenue person, and I'm happy to. That's another show. I'm going to sign off because I'd be here all night otherwise. But listen, thanks guys for having me on. Much appreciated. Enjoyed the chat. Enjoyed catching up with you. It's been a while since I was on. Danny, I have you booked in for a show.
You haven't told me the date yet, though.
No, I'm just hanging. Let me tell you the date. Let me get it here. I will tell you the date now. That.
And I don't have a pen to even write it down. Type it to me. Oh, I do have a pen. There we go.
Facebook to you, right?
Yeah, Facebook.
It's in a few weeks' time anyway, because I'm fully booked up now. I'm trying to. I even have people trying to book October at the moment. That's
good for you, though. That's awesome.
Oh, it's just the energies are just like off the scale. The only thing I'd say on leaving, thanks to everybody. I will say to you that I've given Danny the links to Thomas's 2 websites, the People's Club and all the history of the world and who Marduk is and everything else. They're called the must listen to shows. There's about 10 hours there. But that will really, really give you an idea of the real history. I mean, again, there's some of it is subjective. You'll say, well, how do you prove that? But keep an open mind, have a listen to it if it resonates with you. But it is very interesting stuff and it'll blow your mind. Yeah, Thomas has his show tomorrow, but I know the Saturday show that I'll be doing with him and Randy, he said, well, I just think it's going to be very important what he has to say. I'll find out on Saturday whether it is or not.
Do me a favor, Alan, because you're in the Unfuckers group. Can you, when you get the details of what time that show will be airing, can you put the details in the Unfuckers group so we can?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because I'm sure there's a bunch of us who are going to want to tune in. I may actually take an early nap that day so I can stay up late and watch that live. I haven't talked to Randy in fucking ages. Randy's an old buddy of mine. I've been known Randy for fucking years.
Dude, Danny, is, I also do the United Restart radio round table once a month with a couple of lads. We have 2 guys from Switzerland, myself and Matt from America. So maybe not this month because Randy's doing this month, but maybe next month. Do you fancy doing the round table with us?
Absolutely. I love round table discussions. I love sitting down and fucking just dig through all the shit.
Yeah, you can talk to Matt and you can kick his ass a bit. Right? He needs to be woken up. Okay, listen, folks, it's been brilliant being on. I really enjoyed the chat. If you do want to find out any more information or if you have any queries, if you go over to circleofwhitelight.com, that's where you'll find my shows. And if you want to understand the psychology of the mind regarding the waking up process and the fluid belief system, just go over to YouTube and type Open Your Mind. go to the Open Your Mind channel, and the 2 conferences that we spoke at are there. And also
I think they're at the top of the page, aren't they? Like in the recommended, I think.
Yeah, near enough, because we've just done. Yeah, we just did the conference last year, so 2018. So it should be near the top. Now, the previous conference, the audio is actually much better. So you might be better going to the 2017 conference, because the audio is better than the 2018 conference. Also, there's a small video there of the fluid belief system and the psychology behind that as well.
I'll try and pull those videos up. I'll try and pull them up, and I'll put them in the archive of this, so that people they'll be right there in the article with the archive that'll go with this recording, so that there'll be an article there, and I'll put all those videos in, etc.
What about a website address?
Yeah, it was great. I was going to say real quick, it was great getting to talk with you, Alan.
Thanks, Darren. No problem. Enjoyed it very much. I always like these discussions with open-minded people who, we can have a great chat. And this is what makes the alternative media, speaking to people that are able to entertain a thought without accepting it. Yes. You do your own research and check it out, but you can entertain it, and that's what's important. You don't close your mind to it, and that's so important and so healthy for you as a person to grow in all different ways. So a big thank you to everybody, and I'll bid you good night. My bed is calling me, but if anybody wants to email me or talk to me privately or anything like that, don't be afraid to call me. No problem at all. Okay.
And Alan is in the Unfuckers group on Facebook, so you can write a message and just type his name in so that it notifies him.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, plus Alan, I have been on that site a few times. It's been a while. Open Your Mind, the website. Yeah. So.
Okay, Alan, you have a good sleep, darling. Go to bed quickly, because we'll just keep talking, and you'll be up until dawn, and that's not good.
Yeah, no, it's been a long day. I did a pre-record with John White. John White is the inventor of the Spooky device, which is a healing device which uses quantum entanglement. And
I've heard of it.
I was on. So that's a pre-record that will be played in a few weeks' time. So It's been busy. All right, guys, take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Good night, hon.
Bye night.
Thanks for the 10 hours.
Cheers.
Series.
Christy, if you want to get on the UU Facebook page, you have to send me a friend request, or if you're a friend with any of the other Unfuckers, they can actually add you to the Facebook page. It's not a problem. Send me a friend request and a message, because I don't look at my friend requests very often. Maybe once every month I go through and go, 85 new friend requests. Yeah, I don't want to look at that. But yeah, if you know anyone, Christy, anyone who's in the UU room, they can, and you're friends with them on Facebook, they can just add you to the group.
If not, she can just send one of us a message, a private message right
Yeah,
here.
exactly. Just anyone here who's all in there. Just ask anyone to add you to the group. Yeah, Alan is awesome. I love him to pieces. We only met just this year, and just hit it off. The very first conversation we ever had, it was just we're gonna be best friends.
That's awesome. And
You're getting that same feeling. I'm like, ooh, I'm excited for these 10 hours.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, what am I doing this weekend? Well, I'm gonna do shit that I can do sitting in front of a computer listening to 10 hours worth of stuff.
It's crazy, Danny, though. I came in late, but everything I was hearing him say sounded like what we were looking at all those years ago.
Exactly, Jane. That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. It's all the shit that we talked about in 2012, 2013, the shit you were putting out on your site. I know. And this is...
After 9/11, it was like all this stuff started showing up.
Yep.
And then it quieted down for several years.
And then it comes right back again. Yep. And I'll tell you, that is my one hesitation.
Mm-hmm.
My one hesitation is the fact that I went through all of this in 2012, 2013 with the OPPT stuff.
Don't want to get on the merry-go-round again.
And is this, with the Man of World Trust, is it a loop? Is it a loop?
Right.
And that is my one concern. But like I said, I've had multiple conversations with Alan, and he says, this guy Thomas, just everything that he has said, good night, Clive, go to bed, sweetie pie. Everything Thomas has said has been, like, the proof has been there over and over and over again, where he said, this is going to happen, and it fucking happens. Nope, that's not going to happen, and it doesn't happen. So
Nice. Wow.
sometimes you have to look at that stuff, and we have to go, like, I know how biased I am. I know how pessimistic and how biased I am.
And look, we
So-
can't help being open, damn it. We just can't help it.
It's just time to listen to other narratives, you know. It's just time to listen.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, because when we listen, the more narratives, because I've gone back and, like I said, recently in the last 6 months or so, I've started listening to, hey, little dude, my little dude friend. Hey, dude, how's it going? High five, high five. If you listen to the narratives and you take out the storyline, take out the narrative, take out the descriptive terminology, because we all have different words that we use to try and to describe shit that we can't describe in the fucking English language. Take out those words, take out the storyline, and just look at the pieces that are being put on the table. Everyone's talking about the same fucking shit.
Yeah.
Everyone. Some call it ascension. Some are calling it, God knows, like it.
almost like how all major religions basically teach the same thing, but it's all dressed in all these different ways and labels. You just got to look at the core of what it is, and the core is usually a universal truth.
And this is it.
Yeah.
So they're all talking about the same stuff, and that's when I say I have to take note of this. I can't just sit there and go, well, this is channeled information, so it's bullshit, so I'm just going to throw it away, because you can't do that when we have something like Alison Coe, where she's doing a regression, and someone brings a piece forward that is shit that I've seen myself, that Anne and I have talked about, that Gail and I have talked about, that Gail has seen, et cetera, and you sit there and go, well, I'm sorry, there's got to be something to this. These are people we don't even know.
I got to tell you this.
Well, and some people are gifted in giving pieces, and some people are really gifted in connecting pieces.
Yes.
Like,
Danny, I didn't know that Heather claimed to be or was believed to be a signature.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
The
check it out.
OPPT, she was the head trustee of the OPPT Trust.
Check this out. Check this out. When I was with the White Hats, okay, and this is the God's honest truth. When I was with the White Hats, I was working with Paladin.
I know who Paladin is.
I know you do. His real name is Brett, and we've had lunch together. He lived right down the road from me. And, but anyway, one of the guys that we had our couple, we'd have calls like 2 or 3 times a week, just like a very small group of us. And trying to think of the one guy's name, it'll come to me. But anyway, he claimed to be a signatory, right? And Paladin was a private investigator, and he had a place. He had an investigation agency out. I think it was LA. It was out in California, and but this guy worked with elements of the White House, and it's just fucking crazy because this shit's coming up again.
Yep, I know. And some of these characters are coming up again.
I had black helicopters buzzing over my house, and that's why I pulled out of the White Hats. I was doing their blog, and I was putting everything all the stories they were giving me. I was putting it down and getting it out on paper, not on paper, but out onto the blog.
I got it.
Yeah. Not only that, Jesse and I, JJ and I, we were making everything go viral because we were big time on.
Oh, I know.
We on Skype we had thousands.
I know.
Thousands.
I was in several of those Skype groups with you guys, right? And this is the whole thing. And like I'm saying, some of this information becomes relevant again. And I talk about.
And one of my friends was murdered over it. Don't forget that either.
Well,
remember, you remember that one guy he had a big mouth, but he was part of our groups, and he couldn't keep his mouth shut. God bless
you mean
him. Yeah. Butch, what was his name? Butch. Oh, I know him. Oh, God, forgive me. I love him so much. I mean, we were good friends.
I want to say David, but it's not David.
Oh, I think that might be it.
David.
And they burned his place down. They burned his place down, his dogs too, and his 7-year-old son.
Yep.
Well, they slept in bed together.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
This is it. Yep. And this is, I look at some of the stuff, and it's like I said, I'm going back and revisiting some of the shit that I was told
but kind of
back then
a little.
by in 2012 and 2013 from my sources. And the one guy who I met through JJ, when he disappeared in mid-2013, the last message he sent to us was, when this all goes down, I'll be back.
Uh-huh.
And then he disappeared. And we knew that there were several attempts made on his life. Several attempps. And they hit him with one of those heart attack rays. And he was in the Philippines. And we got a message out of the blue. Jesse sent me a message. It was like 2016? January, February 2016. Jesse sends me a message and goes, we just heard from him. And we were like, I was like, what? It was through someone else. And they did like kind of all the question and answer to verify who this person was and who they were talking about. And the message was, I'll be back very soon. And we hadn't heard from him in 3 years. We were convinced he was dead. Now, I don't know if Jesse's ever heard another word since then. But yeah, like this is one of those things where you're just like,
yep.
Crazy fucking shit.
His name was Dave, Danny, and he went by Hutch. Yep,
Hutch. Yep, I remember when Hutch was killed. Yep. And Studley was another one. And Studley
isn't it interesting?
Took his own life, they say, and I don't believe it. I don't believe that he committed suicide. It was far too convenient. And again, he was another one who had so much information and was working inside with so much different people, and just boom.
And Dutch and I and JJ all came from Fulford's site. That's how we came together. And then all of a sudden, after a couple of years being on Fulford's little thing together, we were members and we chatted every single day. But all of a sudden, Paladin showed up.
Yeah.
He showed up out of the blue at that time.
Did this David guy, is he an older guy? Is he older?
He was my age.
No, he wasn't older. All he was what, 43, 44 when he was killed? Somewhere around there?
Yeah.
Okay, so he was killed. Okay, I'm thinking of another David that I'm doing. Yeah.
Nah, you probably wouldn't know this guy.
Yeah. Yep.
This is making me think of this David. This is making me think of this David that used to be a part of that phony thing, Project Camelot, with Kerry Cassidy. That David Corso guy that was speaking on behalf of Duncan O'Finian, and that was way back years ago. So.
This guy Dave, he only had a big mouth on social media and in his community. He wasn't doing any. Actually, he did start a blog. He did. He had a blog running for about 2 years before he was gone. True that. But anyway.
He started Wolf Spirit Radio, which later took over.
That wasn't done. That wasn't done.
No.
Oh, okay.
Dave Corso. Dave Corso.
Okay.
No.
Started a Wolf Spirit. Yes. Wolf Spirit Radio.
Yeah, I know one of the sure? Spirit Radio too.
Yeah, Max. It made me think of Max Steel. Wolf Spirit Radio. Max Steel.
Yes. Also, for sometimes Max Steel is still on Wolf Spirit Radio, but the one who took over after Dave passed, Paige. I don't know. He went by his two initials. Paige is my how I remember.
Yeah, I can't remember. I used to know one of the guys from Will Spirit Radio too, but that was like
he is in Scotland somewhere.
Something like that.
Somewhere up there. And yes, but he somehow was the fans or people came to his house and without invite or nothing, and then he turned it all up. For him, it was done with it.
It's interesting, isn't it?
He was too disturbed by getting too much attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I used to be anonymous, you know. I used to be anonymous. So Lisa Harrison outed me on fucking radio show with my full name. I was like, oh, Lisa, you know that no one knows my full name, right? Like, I've always been anonymous. She was like, really? I'm like, yeah, until tonight.
Be like, yeah, thanks a lot. Now I'm not so anonymous.
I was known as D, just the letter D. And everyone knew me as just D, the letter D.
Okay.
I'm going to change the subject real quick. Did Alan, I got up, so I didn't hear everything tonight, but did Alan bring up the name of Marduk's company?
No.
So Marduk's, his nickname is M.
Yeah.
That's what he goes by, M. So anybody got any guesses?
Not I.
To me, M just meant Mike.
Here we go. Here we go. IBM.
IBM? Yeah.
IBM.
IBM. Well, there you go.
And they're the ones that kind of started out the tech deal, you know.
Yeah.
So that was his company's IBM.
Okay, darlings, I have to let you go. I'm dying. I'm literally, I am a puddle. I'm so fucking hot. I'm literally soaking wet.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us.
I'll have a shower. Yeah, I'll have Alan back on again very, very soon. I love those conversations.
Where do we find those 10 hours of?
He gave the, if we scroll back in the chat, he put the link right in at the very beginning. Hold on.
I wasn't, just want to like repost that for me in here.
Hold on, I'm scrolling back from the beginning.
Oh yeah, that good point. Because he put a link. He put a link.
It was right at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Way up, go up. Come on, scroll up.
Also, I'm just happy people are willing to explore.
I just encourage everyone to listen this weekend to his stuff.
It's 9:27, so this is just us chatting prior to the show. Never mind. I was thinking I was past it. No, we haven't got to it yet. This is all the pre-show chat stuff. 9:59. There it is. I'm going to open the link and then I'll repost it because it's easier than copying and pasting. Copy, and then I'll bring it back in here to you guys. Where's the chat? No, not just to Zero privately, to go to everyone. Here we go.
What is this you're putting up?
This is the link to where that has the shows, and apparently, hold on, I got to see where it opened. There is, yeah, the Truth, Honor, Integrity show. There is a section somewhere that's like the Must Listen podcast. So if you scroll down about halfway down the page, it says there's a big black line that says Must Listen to podcasts, and that's the 10 hours. I'm just going to actually grab that link.
Don't they have a website though?
Yeah, it's on the website.
Oh, I thought this was on YouTube.
No. This is the website.
Oh, I see.
Book. I'm just going to drop the link in the Unfuckers Unite group. I'm dropping it just so I can fucking find it again.
It's a good idea because that's what I was thinking.
Drop it there because then I can find it again. Exactly.
Plus, I like convenience. I like convenience anyway. So, yeah.
Zero just put it in.
Okay.
Zero.
I gotta go to bed. I'm literally gonna die. I'm gonna turn off. This will be the end of the chat for tonight. So if you guys want to continue chatting, Star will have to bring up his link or something like that.
I'm going with the flow at the moment. I'm like just.
Okay, guys. So I gotta let you go. I'm literally fading extremely fast now. It's like 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Night.
Good night, everybody. I love you.
Bye.
Love